Oh, it's all right. It's working again. This is not working very well. Never mind. I thought it was completely dead, but it's working. Okay. Bandstand, 1972, Family. This album I remember vividly because it really cemented Family's hard rock stance. A lot of the arty sort of rock stuff on previous albums had gone, and this was very much a progressive rock band with hard rock, the order of the day. It was their sixth, and cover was quite cute. It was a TV set, Bush, and the band, well, it was the last one with John Wetton on bass before he flitted off to join Robert Fripp in King Crimson, and Jim Cregan replaced for the tour. But on the actual record, Wetton used mainly on backing vocals, less significant, and altogether this was a cracking album, and I'm going to go through the track list now, and so we got started with Burlesque, which is an absolutely terrific killer start to an album. The riff is superb, and live it really got you moving right from the kickoff. And they often started with it. I remember them playing live, and many times I saw them. And this track, Post 72, was basically kicked off the set with some typical screaming Chapman horsey vocals, and Whitney really getting into the chord structures and projecting this sort of hard rock image, and it's a great 4 minutes, really. The second track's Bolero Babe. It's a rather strange piece of music, really. It's sort of where they dipped into prog rock. There's a considerable lack of guitar on this, certainly not as a lead instrument. Whitney ended up contributing keyboards. Chapman chipped in with some soprano sax, and there was a fairly considerable input of string arrangements, which was almost in the Electric Light Orchestra's camp, although it sounded nothing like them really, but it was dominated really by the strings, and it was a sort of pretty spacey, psychedelic type of feel to it. Not quite sure what the bolero was meant to be, although it was quite fashionable to title a track Bolero, Tull having done it, and possibly this was bandwagon jumping. Some vibes, of course, from Polly Palmer, and all in all, it was a stab at something a bit different, really, and I'm not quite sure whether it worked. Okay, next up, Coronation. It's a sort of sleazy, sort of blues styled rock song, but they're particularly adept at this style, with Chapman really throwing himself into the vocals. There's a lot of Polly Palmer on this, with vibes and keyboards. Restrained Charlie Whitney, the guitar, to say the least. But it's quite a tasteful little song, really. It's about sort of working class environments. I've got down here about an apartment dweller ruminating about his neighbours and his own dishevelled flat. But I'd have to check the lyric, which I may well do. Dark Eyes, track 4, co-written by Palmer. It's a nice 1 minute 50 acoustic guitars and a little bit of flute that pokes through the clouds, and some nice gentle vocals from Roger. It's the sort of track that they've been throwing in on albums throughout their recording career, which basically stems back to their folk club days, and very refreshing it is too. Track 5 is Broken Nose. This is a very, very good rock song. There's a hell of a lot going on here, but most of it is instrumentally is grounded by some awesome bass and drums that lays the foundations for a very indulgent Polly Palmer with keyboards, vibes, and I also sure he's using a synthesizer, a Moog synthesizer on here, so that's very reminiscent of Emerson's ELP style. Whitney again very restrained on guitars here, and Chapman is really into this one. It's a tour de force of rhythmic rock blasts, terrific, and one that they played live often. The highlight of the album is the next track, My Friend the Sun. This is a classic family folk song, really, that is delivered with precisional playing and lots of emotion. It's basically an acoustic guitar driven, beautifully played by Whitney, mellow and very sort of laid back for Chapman on vocals, who creates a sort of an emotional, touching rendition to this metaphor with regard to change, using the concept of weather, and some. I'm sure there's some accordion in here. Otherwise, it must be Palmer's vibraphone. And I also heard a snippet, a smidgen really, of violin also included, and it's beautiful. It's so good that I'm going to read the lyric because I think it's one of those beautiful folk songs that was turned into a rock song, and meticulously delivered by family. Here goes. Well, I know that you're lonely, come in from the cold. Your shoes, they need mending. Your clothes, they look old. When you pick up your pieces, it's never too late. No, it's never early to make a mistake as soon as you wake. Although there's been rain and it's coming again, change has to be here, obviously. Though my friend the sun looks well on the run, he's there in the distance if you care to see. Well, I know that you're waiting, come out from your shell. There'll come a time, you'll remember it well, when you take all the good times from chances you've had, chances you've made, and what you've learnt from the bad. It's never so sad. Verse 3. If the season were reason, then there'd be no doubt. A sequel of changes were putting you out. But on the question of whether you heard a lie, answer yourself looking straight in his eyes. Don't you realise? Although there's been rain and it's coming again, change has to be here, obviously. Though my friend the sun looks well on the run, he's there in the distance if you care to see. Yeah, and there was a slide, and I suggest you read it. It's a bit of a message, a life message as well about don't get too bogged down in the present because the change is around the corner, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. Glove is next, and this is it's meat and drink for family against the backdrop of strings. It's one of those lazy sort of bluesy rhythms with Chapman really bleeding his heart out. But this is the first track really where Charlie Whitney offers us the maximum input as to his technical ability on lead guitar. It's an absolute dream as he sort of saunters through with his extended solos for the vast majority of the just under 5 minutes. It really does build up a sort of tremendous sort of ferocity. Sorry, that's not right, not ferocity. Tremendous grip on your listening pleasure as Whitney just adorns the fretboard masterfully. And this was another regular on their live set. Ready to Go is described as a response to the detractors in the British rock press, and it's a real get up and go. It's a rhythmic fest really of twin guitars on here. I think credit goes to Wetton for adding the second guitar, and they sort of work very well together, sort of overlapping each other's solos, and a tremendous rhythm section. Townsend and Wetton. So clearly the second guitar was probably dubbed over, double tracked, but the rhythm is really pulsating on this, and it's a very strong rock song. It's a Top of the Hill. So it's an interesting track. It bridges the soft parts with the more up-tempo rocky pieces, and that's handled particularly well through the contrast in Chapman's vocal delivery. There's strings which are added to the overall sound, and of course the guitars swell it out, and Palmer is also involved with his keyboard, and it's a well-developed piece, more intricate, more difficult to play. The time changes are very impressive, and again it shows the band's ability to make that standard rock song much more interesting, and avoided the sort of big bash. The final bridge leads to the rush to the outro, and there's some very pernickety vibraphones from Palmer immersed within the string arrangements, and the guitar sort of picking guitar, and as an amalgam it works terrifically, I think, alongside the powerhouse of Chapman's vocals. An excellent end to a very good album.